In the Gospel of John, chapter 2, Jesus Christ walks to the temple in Jerusalem. He sees merchants, he sees money changers, he sees people who have turned a sacred house into a marketplace, and he flips their tables. That is the only moment in the four Gospels where Jesus Christ is visibly, physically furious. I want you to remember that image, because I'm going to come back to it. My name is Irivon, and I'm a Roman Catholic. I'm not a theologian, I'm not a scholar, but I'm someone who takes my faith very seriously. And what I'm about to show you is a direct violation of everything that temple scene stands for. His name is YoungHoon Kim, and he claims to be the smartest man alive. YoungHoon Kim is a 36-year-old South Korean man who has built an entire online identity around one single claim, that he has an IQ of 276. According to him, that makes him the smartest human being on the planet Earth, higher than Einstein, higher than Newton, higher than every single scientist, mathematician, and philosopher in recorded history. He has hundreds of thousands of followers on X, formerly Twitter. He has a YouTube channel with member-only content locked directly behind a paywall, and also he has been endorsed by major conservative media figures. And almost every single video, every single post, every single public appearance circles around two things: his IQ and Jesus Christ. But it doesn't stop there. Kim also positions himself as a financial prophet. He predicted Bitcoin would hit 300,000 in early 2026, and it never really happened. He calls himself the son of ZRP and claims he was born to send ZRP to $100. These are not the predictions of a world's smartest man. These are the predictions of someone who identifies a gullible audience and is exploiting every single angle directly available to him. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Before we go any further, I'm not here to mock Christianity. I'm a Catholic. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in God. That faith is the most important thing in my life. That is precisely why I'm making this video, because what YoungHoon Kim is doing, it's not Christianity, it is not theology, it is not intellectualism, it is a product and God is the brand. Let's start with the foundations of his entire brand. The IQ of 276. First, some context. Albert Einstein's IQ was estimated by contemporary experts at somewhere between 160 and 180. Stephen Hawking was very similar. These are men who fundamentally changed how humanity understands the universe. Their work is highly documented. Their contributions are permanent in society. Their intelligence was demonstrated through decades of original output. The highest reliably measurable IQ score on the legitimate standardized test, a test like the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, caps at around 160 to 170. Beyond that, the measurements become statistically unreliable. This is not any controversial, this is just basic psychometrics. So where does 276 come from? It comes from the one single test, an obscure experiment called the VNPT2, created by one person, a Dr. Kirk Raymond Butt, who appears to be essentially the only person using it. That test produced a raw score of 10, not 276. Dr. Butt then applied a controversial standard deviation conversion to arrive at the number 276, a method that experts in the IQ field say that has been considered invalid for decades. 210 became 276 through a mathematical manipulation that serious psychometricians reject. The former Mensa Korean chairperson confirmed to Vice magazine that Kim doesn't have a special IQ score, at least within Mensa standards. Australian psychometrician Jason Betts estimated Kim's actual score did not exceed 175. Chris League of Mensa called attempts to extrapolate 276 as nonsense, but it gets worse. Kim created his own organization called the Giga Society, one of the bodies he cites as verifying his own IQ. Problem: the real Giga Society was founded in 1996 by a Dutch high IQ expert named Paul Kojimans. Kim created a copycat version without any permission, called it the Professional and Real Giga Society, and continues running it to this day despite being asked to stop. He is citing an organization he invented himself as independent verification of his own IQ. Wikipedia looked at all of this evidence and deleted his article entirely on August 6, 2025. Vice magazine investigated him and their conclusion was stark. Paul Kojimans, the founder of the Real Giga Society, called YoungHoon Kim, and I want you to hear this clearly, a megalomaniac, a pathologically lying imposter. That is not my characterization. This is the assessment of one of the world's most respected high IQ experts. And the American psychologist Howard Gardner, the man who developed the theory of multiple intelligences, turned down a USIA award from Kim's organization. Entirely, he wrote on his blog that USIA is best described as a reputational Ponzi scheme. A man whose career is built on understanding human intelligence called Kim's credentialing system a Ponzi scheme. The foundation of YoungHoon Kim's entire identity is built on a number that was manipulated, verified by organizations he created himself, and rejected by the legitimate high IQ community. Everything else he has built sits on top of that. Now, I want to talk about something that bothers me far more than a fake IQ score, because people lie about credentials on the internet every single day. That is unfortunately not unusual. What is unusual, what crosses the line, is that I, as a Catholic, cannot ignore is what he is selling. YoungHoon Kim has locked content about Jesus Christ behind a YouTube membership paywall. Let me say that again slowly. He is charging people money to hear about God. I want you to think about every person throughout Christian history who has carried the gospel. The apostles walked across the known world on foot. They were imprisoned, they were executed, they asked for nothing in return. They gave everything they had, including their lives, because they believed the message was too important to put a price on. Thomas Aquinas, one of the greatest theological minds in the history of the Catholic Church, wrote the Summa Theologica, one of the most sophisticated intellectual and spiritual works ever produced by a human being. He didn't charge a membership fee. Francis of Assisi literally gave away every material possession he owned. He preached to birds. He served lepers. You understood extensively that the moment you attach money to the message of God, you have already corrupted it. Kurt Gödel, one of the greatest mathematical minds of the 20th century, privately believed in God and read the Bible. Every Sunday, he spent years developing a mathematical proof of God's existence and kept it private for decades because he understood something profound. Fate cannot be calculated, it cannot be proven by a formula or a standard deviation conversion. God's existence is not a mathematical equation with a clean answer. It is something you either believe in or you don't. Gödel understood that. He never charged anyone to hear about his fate. He barely spoke about it publicly at all. YoungHoon Kim does the opposite. He performs intelligence publicly. He charges money for it. He treats God as a product and fate as a subscription service. The Bible itself, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 5, written almost 2,000 years ago, specifically warns against people who think that godliness is a means of financial gain. 2,000 years ago, that verse was written about YoungHoon Kim. This is not a ministry, that is a complete business model. I want to spend a moment on Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is now gone. He was killed in September 2025 at just 31 years old, doing exactly what he believed in. Speaking on college campuses, whatever you thought of his politics, that was a tragedy. A young man with a family died doing what he loved. Part of his legacy now includes his endorsement of YoungHoon Kim. He publicly posted that the greatest minds in history, Newton, Pascal, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Augustine, Aquinas, Galileo, all believe in Jesus Christ. He used their names to validate Kim's brand. But here's what the argument gets wrong. Newton, Pascal, Galileo, these men had genuine, complicated, deeply private faith. Newton was actually considered a heretic by the Anglican Church because his theological views were too radical and unconventional. His faith was real, but it was nothing like the simple viral post Kirk was amplifying. None of these scientists put their faith behind a paywall. None of them claimed a world record IQ, not to make their beliefs in God seem more credible. Their faith stood entirely on its own. They didn't need a fake credential to justify it. Kirk's endorsement wasn't that malicious. I believe he saw something shareable. The world's smartest man chooses Jesus, and it fit his narrative perfectly. But he completely didn't check He didn't directly investigate, he just handed his credibility to someone who had not earned it properly. And the painful irony is, Charles Kirk spent his entire career arguing that Christianity and conservatism are intellectually serious positions that deserve respect. Then he endorsed a man whose fake intellectualism does the exact opposite. It makes Christianity look like something that needs a con artist to defend it. Real faith does not need a 276 IQ to be valid. It never did. I say that with respect for what Kirk built and genuine sadness about how his life ended. Here's what nobody in the other expose videos talk about, and I think it's the most important part. Who is actually watching YoungHoon Kim? Mostly older Christians, people who grew up trusting authority, people who didn't grow up with the internet, and don't have the instinct to immediately fact check every viral claim. People who genuinely want to feel like their faith makes actual intellectual sense in a world that increasingly tells them it doesn't. For those people, they're not that stupid. They're not that naive. They're inherently faithful, and they're being obviously exploited by someone who identified them as a monetizable audience and built a product specifically designed to appeal to their deepest needs. They deserve so much better than this. Howard Gardner, the psychologist who developed the theory of multiple intelligences, called Kim's entire credentialing system a reputational Ponzi scheme. That means Kim's followers are investing their trust, their money, and their faith into something built entirely on fake foundations. When the scheme collapses, they don't just lose money, they lose something much more important. I'm a Roman Catholic. My faith has 2,000 years of genuine intellectual tradition behind it. Augustine, Aquinas, Newman, Chesterton, Tolkien, these are people who engage with the deepest questions of existence with extraordinary honesty and extraordinary intelligence and ask for nothing except to be heard. That tradition is what Kim is borrowing, aesthetic of while selling something completely hollow in its place. When I see someone put the words in Jesus Christ behind the paywall, I don't just feel intellectually offended, I feel like those tables in Jerusalem need to be flipped again. I want to close with something simple. If YoungHoon Kim genuinely believes everything he says, if Jesus Christ is truly the center of his life and his faith is real, then the path toward forward is obvious. Take down the paywall, give the content away for free, stop building organizations to verify your own credentials, stop signing your posts, highest IQ man, just talk about God for free like every genuine person of faith throughout history has done. Kurt Godel read the Bible every Sunday in private for decades and never charged anyone to hear about it. The apostles died for the gospel and asked for nothing in return. Francis of Assisi gave everything away because here's the truth that 2,000 years of Christian tradition teaches us, and that even a basic reading of the gospel makes clear. You cannot serve God and money at the same time. You get to choose one. The temple in Jerusalem had tables full of money changers who thought they had found a way to do both. Jesus showed them they were wrong. I'm Zarivan. I'm a Roman Catholic from the Philippines, and I make this video for free. Thanks for watching.